The human warship floated in silence. It didn't move. It didn't answer. It didn't even show signs of life. The Galactic Empire watched from a safe distance. Their ships were strong, fast, and full of weapons. They had ruled the stars for hundreds of years. To them, this small human ship was nothing but a joke. Is this really their best? One alien captain said, laughing. The fleet circled the human warship like hunters around an animal that couldn't fight back. The ship looked old, almost dead. Its surface was dull. No weapons were seen. No lights blinked. Just silence. But one alien wasn't laughing. Commander Voktal stood on the bridge of the Empire's lead ship, arms crossed, eyes locked on the human craft. "Something's wrong," he said quietly. "Wrong. It's just a floating tin can," another officer replied. But Voktal didn't agree. His instincts were sharp. He had survived many battles by trusting them. And right now, those instincts were screaming. The Empire decided to act. "Send in a scout ship," ordered High Commander Zorn. "Let them get close. Maybe these humans need help turning on their engines." A small scout ship broke away from the fleet and approached a human warship. Its lights scanned the silent hull. The scout's pilot laughed over the radio. "Nothing here but metal and dust," he joked. "I could land on it and—" Suddenly, the transmission cut off. No warning. No scream, just silence. The scout ship disappeared from sensors. "Where did it go?" the High Commander barked. "No trace," the technician replied, hands shaking. "1 second it was there. Now it's gone. No explosion. No debris. Just gone." The room fell quiet. Voktal's eyes narrowed. It didn't fire. It didn't move. But something took that ship. A second scout ship was sent, this time with shields at full power. It didn't get closer than 500 kilometers. It vanished too. The Empire started to panic. They pulled back their ships slightly. Some captains demanded to retreat completely. But the High Commander refused. "We're not running from a ghost," he said. Still, whispers spread across the fleet. "What if this isn't human tech?" one soldier asked. "They said Earth is weak," another replied. "But the ship doesn't feel weak." Back on Voktal's ship, something strange happened. The lights flickered. The screens turned to static for 3 seconds. When they came back, every system was fine, except one, the star map. It had changed. In the center of the screen was the human ship. Around it, in a perfect circle, every Empire ship had been marked in red. Red meant one thing, targeted. But the human ship hadn't moved. "How can it lock onto us without scanning?" someone whispered. Voktal didn't answer. He stared at the ship, feeling something deep inside, something like fear. He had fought against beasts that could crush tanks. He had seen black holes swallow moons. But this was different. This was quiet. Too quiet. Hours passed. No more ships were sent. The fleet kept their distance. No movement from the human ship. No lights. No sounds. Nothing. It was like the ship didn't even care that it was surrounded. And somehow, that made it more terrifying. Then something new happened. A message came through. It wasn't a voice. It wasn't words. It was a signal. A single tone, low, deep, and cold. It played for 7 seconds, then silence again. "What does it mean?" the High Commander asked. Voktal answered, voice flat. "It means we're being warned." At that moment, across the galaxy, other alien races began to listen. The broadcast wasn't private. Everyone had heard the tone. Planets on the edge of the Empire went dark. Some races powered up their defenses. Others began to flee. The tone had said nothing, and yet everyone understood. This was no ordinary ship. This was no bluff. Voktal turned to his crew. "Send this to the Council. Do not attack again. Do not test it. Wait. Watch." "But sir," his second-in-command said, "we have hundreds of ships. They have one." Voktal nodded. "Yes, But that one already erased two without trying. We laugh at their silence, but maybe that's the point. The human warship stayed silent. It didn't move. It didn't send messages. It didn't even power its weapons. To the Galactic Empire, this ship was nothing but a joke. Their fleet surrounded it with hundreds of powerful ships. Soldiers inside laughed and joked. This is their best. A quiet, useless metal box, one alien captain said. But Commander Vogtal wasn't laughing. He stood on the bridge of the Empire's command ship, watching the human vessel carefully. Something about its stillness felt wrong to him. It wasn't fear, it was curiosity, and something else, something colder. This ship isn't broken, Vogtal whispered. It's waiting. The other officers ignored him. They believed the humans were weak. Their technology was old. Their ships were small. Everyone in the galaxy knew this. But no one had seen the ship before. High Commander Zorn, leader of the Empire fleet, grew tired of the silence. Send a scout ship. Let's see what they're hiding. One small scout ship flew close to the human vessel. Its pilot laughed over the radio. Looks empty. No lights. No power. Maybe it's already dead. Then silence. The scout ship disappeared. Not destroyed. Not broken. Just gone. No explosion. No signal. No sound. Sensors showed nothing. Where did it go? Zorn shouted. The tech officer looked pale. It was there. Now, it isn't. A second scout was sent. This one had extra shields, extra weapons, extra fear. It didn't get closer than 500 kilometers before it too vanished. No warning, no trace. Panic spread. Is this human magic? One soldier asked. No, said another. This is something else, something we don't understand. The Empire fleet pulled back slightly. For the first time, they weren't sure. But still, the human ship didn't move. Commander Vogtal checked his ship's systems. All normal until the lights blinked once. Then again. Then the main screen changed. A new star map appeared. In the center, the human warship. Around it, all Empire ships, marked in red. Red meant danger. Red meant locked targets. But the human ship had done nothing. It hasn't scanned us, an officer said, confused. It doesn't need to, Vogtal replied. Hours passed. Fear grew. A strange sound came through the communication system. Not a voice. Not words. Just one low sound. A deep hum. It lasted for 7 seconds. Then nothing. But that sound didn't come from the human ship alone. That tone was heard across the galaxy. On every channel. In every star system. On every listening station. A message without language, but everyone understood. Warning. On distant planets, people turned off their radios. Some prayed. Others ran. A few remembered old stories. Ancient myths about ships that came before war. Ships that didn't speak. Ships that watched. And when they finally acted, entire worlds vanished. Back on the bridge, Vogtal stared at the screen. He had seen death before. He had seen fire, war, chaos. But never silence like this. Send a message to the council, he ordered. Tell them not to attack. Tell them to wait. Sir, we have the power. One ship cannot stop us. Vogtal turned slowly. Then why are we the ones afraid? Far away, deep in the library vaults of an ancient alien race, an old scholar sat alone. He opened a forgotten book, pages full of dust. He stopped at one picture. A shape. A ship. It looked just like the human warship floating near the Empire fleet. The scholar read the words below it in a shaky voice. When the silent ship comes, do not fight. Do not flee. Just listen and hope it never speaks. The human warship still hadn't moved. No one in the Empire could understand it. It didn't fire weapons. It didn't speak. It didn't even glow with energy. And yet, 2 scout ships were gone, just like that. The Empire had surrounded planets and crushed armies, but now they were standing still, watching one quiet ship in the dark. Commander Voktal sat in silence, eyes locked on the screen. Around him, officers whispered and worried. Is it a trap? Is it human technology? No, it can't be. Humans aren't this advanced. But then the ship did something new. It blinked. Just one light. Small, blue, soft. It glowed near the front of the ship for 2 seconds, then went dark again. Every sensor in the Empire fleet lit up with warnings. Massive power spike. Unknown energy source. Sir, the space around it. It's bending. Voktal leaned closer. Bending, he asked. The tech officer nodded, sweat on his face. Gravity fields are shifting, as if the ship is pressing down on space itself. Outside, nearby stars seemed to stretch for a second, like light was being pulled toward the ship. One officer gasped. It moved space, without moving itself. This wasn't normal. This wasn't science as the Empire knew it. This was something else. On a nearby moon, mining machines shut down automatically. Their software had sensed something unnatural and refused to keep working. Animals across different planets began to panic, running, flying, hiding. They didn't understand what was happening, but they felt it. Even nature knew something was wrong. Back in the fleet, ships tried to scan the warship again. No luck. All scans bounced back, unreadable. Then for the first time, the ship spoke. Not in words, not in sound, but in images. A signal was sent. Every ship received it. One image. It showed the human ship floating peacefully. Then thousands of alien warships around it, all destroyed. No fire, no battle, just wreckage. Then one sentence appeared under the image. This is not power. This is a reminder. Silence fell again. High Commander Zarn punched the console. They're bluffing. They're trying to scare us. But Voktal wasn't so sure anymore. What if this is their real strength, he asked. Not noise, not size, but silence and control. The crew looked at him. No lights, no guns, no shields, and yet we lost 2 ships. Our scans fail. Space bends around it. Now it sends a warning, not a threat. He stepped forward. What kind of species fights without lifting a finger? The council back on the Empire's homeworld was panicking. Every race in the galaxy had seen the signal now. Other empires were preparing their fleets, some to flee, some to fight. An ancient alien race, the Elari, opened their history archives and found something terrifying. Long ago, they had written about a human warship that had once appeared near their borders. It stayed for 1 day. When it left, 12 of their strongest worlds were simply gone. No war, no weapons, just erased. And then the humans disappeared again for centuries. Until now. On board the human warship, no one knew what was being said in the galaxy. No one saw the fear spreading across alien space. The ship floated quietly, watching, waiting. Then it happened again. A shift. The warship moved, only 1 inch. Just a slight change in position. But it caused something unbelievable. A nearby moon cracked. Its surface split open like an egg. All from the small motion of the ship's movement. The Empire ships started pulling back. One after another, they reversed course, creating distance. No one dared get closer. Suddenly, a message came through, this time a voice. It was human. Calm, slow, clear. You laughed at what you didn't understand. You called us weak. You saw metal, not what it holds. You saw silence, not what it hides. This is not a threat. This is your only warning. Then the voice gave one more thing, coordinates. They pointed to Earth. And beneath the coordinates, a countdown began. 10 hours. No one knew what would happen when it reached 0. But no one wanted to find out. Commander Voktal watched the numbers tick down. He turned to his crew. Ready the message. Send it to the council. What message? Someone asked. Voktal stared at the screen, then spoke. Tell them to listen. Because we are not looking at a warship. We are looking at a question. And if we answer wrong, we may not exist long enough to regret it. The countdown continued. 10 hours. 9 hours, 27 minutes. Across the galaxy, ships watched. Planets waited. Leaders whispered. The human warship hadn't moved again. It just floated in space, quiet and cold. But after the last transmission, after the crack in the moon and the vanishing scout ships, no one saw it as weak anymore. Everyone now feared it. Except one. Admiral Krava of the Fexari Dominion had no patience for fear. He looked at the countdown on his screen and growled. This is just human trickery. They are using fear to win. I will prove it. His fleet was small, only 15 warships, but each one was armed with the strongest plasma cannons known in the galaxy. We will destroy this ship and the fear it spreads, Krava said. And when we do, all will remember the name Fexari. Commander Voktal heard the news on his ship. They're going to attack, he asked, shocked. Yes, sir. The Fexari have already left their system. ETA, 2 hours. Voktal's face darkened. They don't understand. They think power is volume. But this is silence. And silence is always hiding something bigger. He tried to send a warning to Admiral Krava. No answer. The Fexari fleet had blocked all outside messages. 8 hours, 12 minutes left. The human ship remained still. But something was different. Scanners showed that its outer surface was changing slowly. Not metal, not stone. Something shifting, breathing. The material was unknown. Nothing in the Empire's database could describe it. It looked like a ship, but it now felt alive. Krava's ships approached fast. They're within range, Voktal's crew said. Sir, should we prepare defenses? Voktal shook his head. No. If the ship is what I think it is, nothing we do will matter. Admiral Krava smiled as he stood on the bridge of his flagship. There it is, the great human ghost ship, he said. He raised his hand. All ships charge main weapons. A humming sound filled his fleet. Energy built in the cannons. Fire. 15 powerful plasma blasts shot across space. They reached the human ship in seconds and vanished. Not exploded, not blocked. Just gone. As if the shots were eaten by the space around the ship. Nothing was damaged. No sign of defense. No sign of shields. Just empty silence. Then something strange happened. The space between the Fexari fleet and the human ship bent. Not visually, physically. Their ships began to shake. Alarms rang. We're not moving, one pilot shouted, but something is pulling us in. Space itself had changed. Krava's flagship started turning on its own. No, stabilize, he screamed. Too late. The flagship spun and was gone. One blink. No fire. No debris. Just silence. Voktal watched from a distance. 1 second, 15 warships. Next second, nothing. The human warship hadn't fired a single shot. All across the galaxy, the news spread in seconds. Fexri fleet erased. No weapons used. No damage to target. Countiono and tiontain uis. Even the loudest empires went quiet. They had mocked humanity. Now they didn't even know what they were facing. Back on Earth, deep under the surface in a dark command room, a human officer watched the countdown. Behind him stood a shadowy figure. Status? The officer asked. All systems green. Warship operating without flaw. External pressure rising. The man nodded. The galaxy doesn't understand yet. The shadowy figure stepped forward. They will. 6 hours, 3 minutes left. Voktal stared at the warship. He whispered to himself, "This is not just a ship. This is a message." He turned to his crew. "We must prepare, not for war, but for truth." 6 hours left. The human warship floated in silence. The countdown continued. The Fexari fleet was gone, not defeated, erased. No weapons had fired from the human ship. No warning. No explosion. Just disappearance. The galaxy watched in fear. Some refused to believe it. Others finally understood. This was not war. This was something older, something deeper. On the desert world of Kuralon, priests looked to the sky. They fell to their knees. "The old silence has returned," they whispered. "We mocked the quiet, and now the quiet answers." They rang the great bell of warning, something they had not done in 4,000 years. On the High Council ship of the Zarnathi Coalition, the leaders were already arguing. "We must fight," shouted General Estal. "No," replied Advisor Len. "We must kneel. If we try to fight, we may no longer exist. Then we will look weak." Advisor Len pointed at the empty space where the Fexari fleet once floated. "That is what weak looks like." Even the pirates of the lawless Red Belt stopped their raids. They turned off their engines. They prayed. Not for survival, but for forgiveness. Back on the Empire's command ship, Commander Voktal sat in the war room. Around him were messages from hundreds of systems. "We will not resist. We ask for peace. Tell the humans, we understand. Please don't erase us." He turned to his crew. "Prepare a message." Across space, a message was broadcast on every channel in every language. We mocked what we didn't understand. We feared the wrong things. We thought silence meant weakness. But silence was a warning. And now, we kneel. The countdown continued. 4 hours, 15 minutes. The human warship still had not moved. It hadn't replied. It hadn't acknowledged the galaxy's surrender. Some began to hope that was a good sign. On board a science station near the Edge Nebula, a small alien team worked in secret. They weren't soldiers. They were researchers. "We must understand how this ship works," said Dr. Yulin. "It may be the most powerful object ever created." Her assistant frowned. "What if it's not created?" Yulin blinked. "What do you mean?" "What if it's born?" No one knew what powered the human ship. It had no known engine, no fuel trail, no heat signature. It didn't look like it was flying. It looked like it was existing. Then something changed. 3 hours, 49 minutes left. The ship pulsed. Not light, not heat. Emotion. Thousands of beings across the galaxy felt it at the same time. Sadness. Deep, endless sadness. As if the ship itself remembered something painful. As if it had once been part of something lost. On Earth, inside the secret underground command bunker, a human general stood alone. He looked at the warship's live feed. A younger officer stepped in. "Sir, do we respond to their messages? They're surrendering." The general shook his head. "They're not surrendering to us." "Then, to who?" The general looked at the screen. "They're surrendering to what we once were. Before we left, before we forgot." The human ship finally moved. Only a few meters. Just enough to face a new direction, toward the center of the galaxy. A new set of coordinates appeared. No one had seen them before. They pointed to a dead zone, no stars, no planets, a place no ship ever returned from. Then the ship sent one final message. "We are not here to conquer. We came to remind. When we return, the stars will choose." 2 hours, 0 minutes left. The galaxy held its breath. The stars seemed quieter. The silence felt heavier. The warship's countdown ticked on. And now, every empire, every leader, every creature in the galaxy waited, not for a battle, but for a decision. 2 hours left. The galaxy waited. The human warship, silent and unmoving, faced the stars. No more signals. No more movement. Only the countdown and the weight of fear. Empires had surrendered. Fleets had backed away. Priests, pirates, scientists, everyone watched. The warship had become more than a ship. It had become a question. And time was running out. Commander Voktal stared at the screen. "Do we contact them again?" his officer asked. Voktal shook his head. They heard everything. But they are waiting for something else. What? Voktal looked into the endless black sky. I think they are waiting for us to change. 1 hour, 24 minutes. Across the galaxy, people spoke to the stars. Not with guns. Not with threats. But with truth. They told stories, apologies, memories of peace. On the water world Elon, children placed lights into the sea, sending messages of hope. On the war-forged planet Zareth, soldiers threw down their weapons and built a monument. One word carved in 100 languages. Listen. The countdown continued. 58 minutes. 42 minutes. 30. Then silence deeper than before. No sound. No signal. Not even ship systems moved. A strange calm filled the galaxy. As if time itself had stopped. On Earth, deep underground, the old general stood before a dark screen. No one spoke. A quiet voice broke the silence. The ship has passed the point of no return. What does that mean? Someone asked. It means, the general whispered, we cannot stop it now. The stars will decide. The warship moved again. Not with force, not with fire. It slid forward toward the dark zone in the galaxy. Toward the place with no name, no stars, no return. Then the stars blinked. Every sun across 1,000 systems flickered for 1 second. And in that moment, all beings saw the same vision. A galaxy on fire. Empires destroyed. Voices screaming, then silenced forever. And in the center, that same human ship. But broken. Alone. Floating in a graveyard of light. It was not a threat. It was a memory. A warning from a time before time. When the vision ended, something changed. The warship glowed, soft and white. Its silence became something else. Peace. The countdown stopped. Not at 0, but at 1. And it stayed there. A final message appeared on every screen, spoken in 1,000 voices at once. You were not chosen for your power. You were not warned because of fear. You were given this moment because we still believe you could listen. The silence has watched. It has judged. It has heard your cries, your change. You have chosen peace. The warship turned slowly. It faced no one. Not Earth. Not the Empire. Not the stars. It faced the dark. And with no sound, no flash, and no goodbye, it vanished. No trace. No signal. Just silence. But not the kind that brought fear. This silence was calm. This silence was hope. In the days that followed, something strange happened. Empires began to speak, not with weapons, but with words. Old enemies made peace. Warlords stepped down. And above all worlds, statues were raised, not of the warship, but of a message. We heard the silence, and we changed. Commander Voktal wrote the last line in his report. The humans sent no army, only a ship. And that ship asked one question. Who do we become when we are finally heard? Some say the ship will return one day. Some say it never left. But all across the galaxy, whenever silence falls, they listen.